So as I promised, I will upload the script and I will explain a little bit the inner workings of it. So I can only show you that script because this one, it's not made entirely by me, the full plugin. But more or less that script is doing pretty much the same thing. This is more sophisticated with menu, things like this. But this one is way more simpler and easy to understand than the full plugin. Here there are a lot of scripts interconnected, and if you want to use it, you might not be able to. If you want to change something, and you might have to change something. So what the script basically does is, as I mentioned in the previous video before, let's open up Perl. So we have a layout file for each character. We have a folder here for each character of the show, and a layout file and a texture folder where all the textures are. And in that layout folder, when you open it up, we have a new object, and we have an Alembic file exported from Maya, and we have a new object with all of the hair. And here the Alembic has all of the textures already assigned. Those are Redshift textures. The script will work with any texture because the script actually doesn't touch the textures. So the entire character is pre-made, so it doesn't matter what you did here with the textures. You can assign, let's say, textures with some kind of a polygon selection tag or something. So the only thing that the plugin does is actually changing those paths here, and also it changes the timeline, and it's doing a bunch of other things that kind of more related to our case with the show. Also it's fixing up the animation on the hair. We have the animation cache, and it switches up the path for the animation cache with the right one. So if we select that body and we go to some kind of shot here, let me see, okay, this one. So you see the body changed, and it's now using that animation from Maya, the Alembic one. And this is just because we changed the path to Alembic for the body. So how do you create a layout like this so the plugin works, the script actually? All you have to do is just open your rig or asset or whatever. I will pause till my load. So here we have the rig. Let's hide everything except the polygons. So you have your rig, and you first need to name that group here properly. This is like super important. If you have several objects with the same name, it will break everything. So the most important thing is that final group that you have for your character, it's have a proper name, and if you have other character, they have different name. Otherwise it will wonder which character is it. It doesn't matter how the things are called after that. They might be exactly the same as this case. Like all of our characters have geo teeth, bottom and top, and tongue, and things like this. So it doesn't matter how those things are called. The only things that matter is the final group that you have. So to create a layout character to work in Cinema 4D, what you have is to export this, select this group and export it as an alembic selection. So we go here and we just need one frame. And those are the things that I usually use. Like I'm clicking everything here. Maybe without that one. Yeah, I think. Yeah. So, and you export the selection. You can go to your folder and let's say this is the folder where you're creating your character layout, and we call that one like this. So only one frame, export selection. So after that you go into Cinema 4D and let's merge a project, and we select the Perl layout file and let's click open. The frame rate is 24 because we're doing animation. If you're doing something else, it should be something else. So let's wait till it loads. So the first thing that is extremely important is your FPS. Like all of the shots that you do with that character layout needs to be at 24 FPS. So if you're using something else like 25, 30, you need to make your character layouts and all of the scenes after that with the same FPS. So first I have a bunch of things that I don't actually need for rendering. So I don't need the rig of that groom, interpolators, blah 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 blah. So I select all of these except the geometry. Those things I don't need. Also for Perl, because we are using Ornatrix here, I'm removing the real geo here because I don't need it. The eyelash and eyebrows also. And this dress, maybe I don't need the proxy, but I need the real dress. So I clean up everything from that because I don't want to make a mess. I want everything to be cleaned. This material here, I will explain about that later, but I will remove it for the moment and I will remove that scene check thing. So after that, you just select your already made textures and you just apply them to whatever object you have. Say like this, I have Perl dress, Perl ball, the gloves. And by the way, all of those textures here, they use UDIMs, except maybe for the gloves, but let's say Perl dress. So what we are doing is, I'll have probably to select the skin. So we are using that UDIM here. Instead, like here on the dress, you see there is a number. So instead of that number, you just type UDIM like this with those brackets, and instead of one texture it will use the sequence of textures for the UDIMs, and each of those UDIMs, let's say select few objects and go to UV. You see how the UVs are spread across the UDIMs, and that's how Redshift will, this is UDIM 101, 102, 103 and so on. So Redshift will know we have a sequence of textures for everything. So you can even create just one material, let's say that one, and it will apply just to every single object because they're sequential, it's using sequential UDIMs. But you know, like the skin have some properties and the dress have some other properties, so we kind of split them. I found out that we actually first we were creating like masks and UD masks, like this core splitter here, and blend materials. So I have a dress, I have a lace material, this is the part here that is semi-transparent, and we were using RGB textures with UDIMs to split some parts and use different textures for different parts. But I found out when you have something that have a transparency, some kind of, or refraction, it makes everything super slow. So it's better to split the textures instead of using just one single material for the entire character, like we have some instances like this. And we were doing it with a blend material, and let's say we have a dress, we have the body, and we were using blend material and RGB texture to split the objects. But yeah, we don't use that anymore. So when you put all of the textures here for your objects, I'm not gonna do that now, but after you do that, what you have to do is select all of your Alembic objects, and you need to put the offset here to 101. So because of our show, every single shot that we are creating, it starts from 101. Here the offset needs to be 101 because the script doesn't update that offset. The plugin does, but my script doesn't do that. If your shot starts from, say, frame 0, then this should be 0. If it's 1, it should be 1. And that offset also correlates with your FPS. So make sure that your FPS is correct and here the offset is correct. So after that, you just save your file, let's say Perl layout, and when you have your layout file and all of your layout files like this, you can even put Ornatrix here. I'm not sure how many of you are using that, but the good thing is you can use Octane materials, you can use Arnold materials, it doesn't matter. So let's create a new scene. I'll close that one. And I will use my script to export the scene again. I will remove that thing here and that thing here. So this is my Maya scene. I click open. For you, those buttons wouldn't matter really much. I will explain that later, but let's say yes and wait a bit. So it's loading now the Alembic file. And let's go to loaded scene. And go to my camera and let's see through the camera. And it now loads the textures. we can remove the address because we have a simulation and it imported the simulation. We have this cloud here and this cloud here as sims, so we can remove that one. And we have our characters and they're moving around, and the hair is in place. So actually loaded scene is the entire Alembic exported from Maya. It's hidden and you can unhide everything, and it's here. The scene check material and new object and the background is already in my Cinema 4D startup file. So here we can show a preview of what we have from the Play Blast from Maya, and we can compare if everything is fine, like if everything seems the way it should be in Maya. So I will also give you that new scene material. When I'm creating a new scene, my Redshift settings are set up like this. I have a Redshift renderer. All of my settings are like this. After that, I'm changing just the resolution and maybe some other things. But this is my layout scene. The FPS is set to 24. I have that scene check material already here. It doesn't have texture, but that texture will be applied with the script, so my script doesn't get so convoluted with things, and all of my scenes are like this because I'm doing a lot of shots for the show, as you can imagine. So here the script changed my timeline. It did the scene check material. If we go to the luminance channel, it set up the range start and the range end the same way. And what else? So let me explain you the script. So this is the export part for Maya. I have two scripts, Maya scene to Alembic and Maya scene to Alembic no environment. And all of those things are fine. I don't need to explain them. Normalize paths. This is for the script to know how to use paths and things like this. This is a setup logging for errors. It will create a file with errors. If we go here, this is the file that it creates. A bunch of things from Maya. If it throws any error, you might catch it here. It's a bit difficult if you don't know what you're doing. This part is the extracting the timeline info from Maya. So what is my start frame, what is my end frame in Maya, like those things here. And it saves the timeline info to a file, and it will save it in the same folder with the same name as your Maya scene, and this is the file that it creates, a JSON file. This is you might not need this, but you might need it. Sometimes Maya gives me errors where an Alembic is imported or blah blah blah. I'm not sure how this thing works. I made it with ChatGPT and I don't know any coding. That might be extremely stupid. The entire script might be extremely stupid. I don't know a single line of code. I kind of know how the things are working, but I don't know how to write any of it. It's created entirely and purely with ChatGPT. Whatever ChatGPT gave me, this is what I have. So this here is loading references, and it uses some excluded keywords, excluded directory. This is because we in order to find, let's say your animator created the scene and he used different path than what I have. He didn't use our cloud, like our cloud here. We are using a next cloud, and my next cloud might be in D. So in order for everything to work properly, we created an M drive. It's not a real drive, it's a virtual one, and it's pointed to the Nextcloud folder. This is our server, and in order for the plugin to work properly, it needs to find the proper paths and things like this. I'll explain this a little bit later. So it finds some references if they are missing, if somebody have something different except an M drive. This is load or exclude the references. This I'm using to exclude the environments. And this is the important part, export scene to Alembic. I have some settings here. And we have the main function. So here, excluded keywords, you can put whatever you like. It will exclude that specific words for referencing files, because each scene that we are creating, we are not importing the characters, we are referencing them, from create references and things like that. So instead of importing your rig, you're referencing it. This is the best approach. And if we want to exclude some references, we can put it here. Let's say I don't want some part of the environment. Let's say that environment is called landscape, and I don't want to wait for the Alembic to export that. So I can write here landscape, and it will exclude any reference in Maya that has a landscape. It won't export it. It's same with the excluded directory and fallback directory. So you might want to change those. Otherwise the plugin might not work. It might work, I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not so sophisticated with Python. So here I have, in that folder called characters, I have all of my characters. So if any reference is missing, it's the path is different when the animator did the scene. Instead of me have to open Maya and put the proper path, I have those fallback directories for props, for characters, and for the environments. And I have some excluded directories that don't use that directory and things like this. So keep in mind those things might be, you need to change them, or just, I don't know. You can just remove those paths, I guess it will work fine. Yeah, and it does some other things like strip the namespaces, because when you're referencing a character in some scene, let's say create a reference, and let's select a character or whatever. So I created a reference for the bandit, and as you can see, the original name is group bandit 01, but it's when you're referencing it, it's creating a namespace, and you need to remove that part. So basically what the script does is it goes like here to Windows, and where was it? Maybe general editors, namespace editor, yeah. And basically the script does this merge with root. Delete, merge with root. I don't know why it's not working right now. Read only, I'm not sure why, but yeah, it should just remove this. I'm not sure why it's not doing it right now, but otherwise it's doing it. So yeah, it's removing that part, the first part, and it will leave the name like this instead of like the specific scene and then the group name. This is just for the script to work better. So yeah, this is the Maya scene to Alembic Pi, and this is import to Cinema 4D, and it also does a bunch of things. I'm not sure that I have to explain everything, but we have like merge scur Alembic, because this is kind of stupid name. Like I told you, that script is not clean, so it's searching for a folder called sim, and because we decided, okay, every simulation that I have for my dresses and other things will be in the sim directory, and I will put all the simulations there, and it just searches for the folder. If the Maya scene is like in some place, it will search the same place for a folder called sim, and it will just import whatever you have in that folder. And it's same with the MOV file. It will search if you have a MOV file in your somewhere next to your Maya scene, and it will import it to the scene check material. And yeah, you might need to work a bit to make it to work in your case. If you know any Python, you kind of would find the logic, and if somebody wants to help me and make the the script like a plugin and work better, you're free to do it. So in order to install the plugin, you have to go to the script, sorry, not plugin. You go to preferences, open preferences folder, you go to library, scripts, and you put the script here. So I have my script character importer here. You need to place those files into that scripts folder. The new C4D, this needs to be put in your program files maximum folder where it's installed, like here. And the character importer, that entire folder needs to be on your C drive. Like just throw it in C drive like this. It needs to be here. And here the scripts import to C4D, Maya scene to Alembic, and no environment. And scene dict is where you're explaining to the plugin, okay, I have this is from Maya, the group name that I told you, like if you have Perl, it searches for group Perl, and this is the file that you need to import, and as you can see, it needs to be with double slashes. So here you're explaining this group needs to import that layout character or file or whatever. It might be prop, it might be camera, it might be whatever you want. It just needs to be an Alembic, like I showed you how you're creating your layout files. And those names here are important, so keep in mind. It needs to be the same name of the final group in Maya as I told you before. So here all of the probes and characters are explained to the script, and it's importing those layout files. So yeah, what else? I think that might be it. If I'm missing something, you can write me in a comment. I might do another video if um, I missed something super major, uh, or I will just answer to your comment. So yeah, that's it. Thanks. Bye bye.